Okay, this is our very quick introduction to Passage 4, just to get you familiar with what to expect on this last part of the IELTS listening paper. All right, so let's talk just very quickly about what you can expect to see on this part, and we'll listen to an example passage, or at least part of an example passage later on in this quick lesson. All right, so Passage 4, Part 4 of the listening paper is a very challenging passage, the most difficult part of the listening paper for most people. Why is that? Well, usually, almost always, this is going to be a kind of lecture. Okay, so you're going to hear one person talking, usually a professor, and they're going to be giving a lecture on some topic. Now, they're going to be talking at length and in depth about this topic. So, for example, if it's a art history class or a social science class or a biology class, you can expect they're going to be talking about some particular topic, going in, having several main points about that topic, and going into depth with a lot of detail about that one topic. All right, so the challenge here is to follow along and to be able to keep all of the information straight in your mind as you're listening to this tough lecture. Okay, so Part 4, a very difficult passage for most students as they're taking the listening paper. Now, topics do vary widely. Okay, so it's not like you can go in and just study a lot of science and expect to do well. Okay, you have to have a broad focus as you think about what's possible on the Part 4 of the listening paper. So because many different lecture topics are certainly possible. All right, but at the very least, you're not really required to have specialized knowledge. Okay, this is not supposed to be a biology test or a history test. It's supposed to test your language and vocabulary. So you can expect tough vocabulary, but all of the answer choices will come directly from what you hear the speaker saying about whatever topic it is that he or she is discussing. Okay, so on that note, let's take a quick listen to a sample of a kind of lecture that you might expect to encounter on Passage 4. Okay, we're just going to listen to a small portion of a lecture here just to give you a sense of what it's like. All right, so let's listen to that now.
Some of you might already realize that I'm talking about Karen Blixen. Blixen, who wrote her most famous works in English, by the way, she took the pen name Isak Dinesen, under which she published several collections of short stories and 2 novels. Well, let's start with the 2 memoirs about her life in what is now the East African nation of Kenya. Blixen was born in Rungstedlund, Denmark in 1885. She moved to Africa in 1914 and lived there until 1931, farming coffee on her plantation, as she so memorably describes, at the foot of the Ngong Hills.
Okay, so that is what a Part 4 lecture will sound like, and you can hear we just got into a little bit of depth there. As you can imagine, these lectures are usually about 5, 6, 7 minutes long, and so there's going to be quite a bit more depth as the lecture continues into that topic. All right. Now, what kind of questions can you expect? Well, for this one, it's tough to predict any particular question type because any one of the question types is certainly possible for Part 4, Passage 4. But it is predictable to know what kinds of concepts will be tested, right? Usually, you're going to have to do some identification of main ideas, okay? So they want to see that you're able to follow along and really understand some of the main points that the speaker is discussing, okay? So that's part of it. Secondly, then, being able to categorize or especially supporting details. Okay, so often there will be questions like, for example, note completion questions, where information will be categorized for you on the notes in your test booklet, and you have to be able to figure out how the different supporting details work, or at least are organized according to the main points on the notes you're looking at. Okay, we've got lessons related to those types of questions, so you can go to those lessons to learn how to answer note completion questions, for example. Anyway, that's the kind of activity, the kind of material you'll be tested on, and that's one of the reasons why Passage 4 or Part 4 questions are tough, because you have to follow main ideas for these difficult lectures. All right, now since this is the toughest part, and since this is a very specialized kind of listening you're doing and kind of material you're listening to, it's important to prepare and to listen to a lot of different kinds of related materials as you're preparing for the IELTS. Okay, so down below, if you look in the notes below this lesson, I've included some links to some materials I recommend listening to as preparation for Part 4, this most difficult part of the listening paper, right? There's some examples of sort of presentations and lectures that will cover the similar kinds of vocabulary and have a similar style as what you can expect on Part 4 of the test. Okay, so go to those links, do as much listening as you can to those kinds of materials. The vocabulary and the style of those things will help you prepare for this last section of the listening paper. Okay, so that's our overview of Part 4, Passage 4 of the listening test.